You are listening to the Jag Bros podcast. I am Jack, along with my two brothers, JT and Joey. We are diehard Jaguars fans for the last 10, 15, 20 plus years. And this is the best time of the year because we have week 18, a game in Tennessee where we can go in and clinch the AFC South title. Guys, how are we feeling tonight?
Win and you're in, baby. That's all that matters. You're taking on your bitter rival, the Titans. You already played the best game of the year against them earlier. Let's do it again, run it back, and let's end this season on another high note.
Yeah, this is a pretty much playoff game. And I know there's a possible scenario if you lose, you can still get in, but I believe that we just need to win. We need to lock down the AFC South. We haven't done that back-to-back years since the 90s. And I believe if we lose this game, then we will have finished the season 9-8, just like last season, which would be a major disappointment. At least if we win the game against the Titans, we finish 10-7, and it's a slight improvement. It's not as much improvement as everyone was kind of hoping for this season, but at least it is a step forward versus being completely stagnant. We need to go out and win this game.
Yeah, back-to-back division champions haven't happened since the 90s. We've actually never won the AFC South back-to-back years. That in the 90s, we were part of, I believe, the AFC Central at the time, with the Bengals, the Titans, the Browns, and some of the other teams. So that would be huge victory for us in that front. And Joey, as you mentioned, there are some other scenarios where if Jacksonville loses, there's three games that matter to us. Fortunately, two of those are on Saturday, so we'll have some results already. The first one is the Steelers game. If the Steelers lose, we have a very, very good chance of making the playoffs, even with a loss at Tennessee. The Steelers are going to be playing at Baltimore. However, Baltimore has already secured the first overall seed, so they have already signaled that they're going to be playing their second and third stringers in that game. So that could be competitive. It's not impossible for Pittsburgh to lose that, but most likely Pittsburgh will win that game. The second game to watch is the Texans and the Colts. Now, we own both tiebreakers against them, so regardless of who wins that game, we would still rank ahead of them, unless, of course, we lose to the Titans. The winner would go, and the loser would still be eliminated. The only way those two teams can make the playoffs, and if we lose the Titans and those two teams tie, it's extremely unlikely. I mentioned there's a third game that we'll have to keep our eyes on if we do end up losing, and if Pittsburgh does win, that is the Broncos at Las Vegas Raiders. If the Broncos, starting a backup quarterback as well, end up winning, Denver does not make the playoffs, but we do end up losing the 7th seed to Pittsburgh at that point, because there'd be a three-way tie at 9-8, and we would no longer have our tiebreaker over Pittsburgh because of those three ways. We only own that tiebreaker is if Pittsburgh and us are both at 9-8. So a couple of different scenarios. Most playoff trackers have us somewhere between a 70 to 75% chance of making the playoffs today before the game plays, but there are a couple of other scenarios we need to be aware of.
By game time, it may be a very real possibility that it is 100% win and you're in, lose and you're out, because you mentioned it, JT, there's a real possibility that the Steelers beat the Ravens with all the Ravens starters resting. And so if that happens Saturday, if the Colts-Texans game does not end in a tie where one of the teams wins, then Sunday the Jaguars have to win to make sure that they're in the playoffs. Actually, I don't know if we tie or not, but just go win.
Absolutely. I mean, the Ravens are absolutely checked out. I don't know if you saw this, but Odell Beckham Jr. just rented out an entire yacht for all the starters. They're going to go out partying and getting ready for the playoffs. So that team is not focused on that game at all. And the Steelers are going to be fighting for their playoffs. A difficult one for the Steelers to lose.
You know what? I love that. I love that they're already celebrating as if they won the Super Bowl when, yes, they're going to have 2 weeks off, but you got a lot. You have a huge grind. And yes, you've looked incredible during the regular season, but how many times have we seen that number one overall seed get upset sometimes in that first round? And so if we do win, we play Cleveland. The one that's going to be the most interesting is there's actually a scenario where if Buffalo wins, they're the 2 seed. If Buffalo loses and a couple other games go different ways, they are completely out of the playoffs. So a lot to keep your eyes on, even with a lot of backup quarterbacks and games that don't matter. There's going to be things that are going to be end up with some funny results, as there always is in the last week of the NFL regular season.
Final thought from me before we jump into this game, or if y'all want to jump in as well. But it is interesting to watch what the Ravens do, because if the Jaguars win and secure that 4 seed, and if you can go and beat the Browns in the first round, then you head to Baltimore for that divisional round game in Baltimore. And we'll, of course, hopefully get there, and hopefully that happens and we'll break down the game. But Lamar Jackson is 1-3 in the playoffs, most likely a second-time NFL MVP. So just something to watch. Sometimes a long break like that can actually hurt a team and hurt the momentum they have currently right now.
Let's go ahead and get into our confidence of this game. Where are y'all at with the Jaguars and your confidence that they will go to Nashville and beat the Titans?
Well, I was a -5 going into the Panthers game and probably a little bit over the top. And so at this point, I'm going to go way over the top the other way and say a 10. I feel extremely confident. We looked great against the Titans the first time around. The Titans look awful. And yes, they hate us and want to put a good performance, but they don't like the Titans or the Texans. They don't like the Colts or the Texans either. And so there's no benefit to them winning this game outside of just spite against the Jaguars. Actually, it's probably better for them to lose the game to end up with probably a top 7 draft pick. So I feel very confident. We're also getting healthier on both sides of the ball. And we'll talk about some of the people that we could potentially have back for this game. And so, yeah, I feel great. Trevor should be playing. Let's bring it on. Let's celebrate. Let's get that 10-win season.
I'm going to go a tad lower than you, JT. Higher than last week for sure. I went at a 5 last week going into the Panthers game. And so, of course, the confidence boost after beating a team 26-0. But I'm going to go with 7.5 just because the Titans hate the Jaguars. You know they're going to go crazy. You know they aren't playing for anything except for wanting to knock us out. So the only thing that makes me nervous is Tennessee will come out hyper aggressive and that we might get behind early, because we've talked about this all season. We have not played well. We have not won a game when we're trailing at half. So 7.5, this is a team that if we play clean, if we play well, we should beat the snot out of them, just like we did in Jacksonville several weeks ago.
My confidence level is closer to what Vegas has us making the playoffs at 75% or 7.5. I'm a little bit worried with how upset Mike Vrabel was. I don't know if you saw his conference after losing to the Texans. He wants to win this game very badly. He hates losing. You can tell that he is really upset with this season, and they're going to want to do what we did to them and keep them out of the playoffs. So they will want to keep us out of the playoffs for sure. But I do have faith in our team and our players that they want to make it to the playoffs as well. They're going to be fighting too. And I do believe that we come out with the victory. I think it's going to be a little harder than people think, but it's going to end with a W.
Well, if it's going to end in a W, I think it starts with the offensive performance. Most likely Trevor will be playing again. And Trevor had one of his best performances of the season against Tennessee about a month and a half ago. He threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 2 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley had a massive day, 7 receptions and 103. We had Kirk. We were able to utilize all 3 of our running backs. Between the 3 of them, they had 30 carries, only 93 yards. But overall, even Calvin Ridley, instead of getting a -12 tackle for loss like he did in the Bucks, he actually ran for an 18-yard run that game against the Titans. So it felt like everything worked for us in that 34-14 win. We also saw week 18 last season when the offense sputtered and turned over the ball a couple of times, and that game was, I think, closer than some people had expected. So I think it's going to start with the offense, and we need to see an offense that's able to put up 20 or so points.
Yes, the offense is going to be huge on Sunday, and it's going to be an interesting game because right now the weather is somewhere in the mid to high 40s, and there is potential of rain. And so something that has caught the Jaguars.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Trevor and rain.
Yes, and we're still tied for first in fumbles. So I think this is a game where we need to start conservative, just like we did against the Panthers. We weren't scoring a ton of touchdowns, but we were moving the ball. We weren't turning the ball over, and we were finishing with 3 points. We were finishing with easy field goals, 34, 35 yards for McManus. Keep that confidence rolling for him. So I think that is what I want to see from our offense, because defensively, it's similar to the Panthers. There's not really anything that scares you. Yeah, you pointed out, JT, Ridley torched them. Nico Collins last week had a big game for 7 catches, 80 yards. So if Ridley gets going, if Ingram gets going, you should be fine in this game.
Not only will we have Ingram and Calvin Ridley, but Zay Jones seems to be on his way back. The hamstring seems to be doing really well. Doug Peterson said he's out practicing Foley, and we can expect to see him play. And also, Christian Kirk is back. He was practicing today out on the field. So there's a possibility that even he plays against the Titans. So we are looking at an almost completely healthy team going into this Titans game. And that has me very excited to see what Trevor can do with Zay Jones back and maybe even Christian Kirk.
That would be excellent news. The fact that we could have our full complement of wide receivers minus Agnew going into this game would be great, even if they're not at 100%. We know Trevor likes Christian Kirk, and we know that Calvin Ridley's already torched the Titans, as well as most wide receiver one options against the Titans this year have had success. However, on the ground, a lot of teams have struggled to really succeed in that avenue. The Texans were able to get them a few weeks ago with a 100-yard rusher and Singletary, but outside of that, they've done a pretty nice job. They're still top 8 or so in most rushing metrics. They are a tough team to run on. They have been a team that has been able to be passed on, and they've given up 20 points or more a lot of times this season. And so I think that's going to be there. Joey, the only concern is Vrabel is a defensive-minded coach. He has devised good game plans against Trevor before in the past. But if Trevor can unlock what he unlocked earlier this year, then I think there's a real path for Jacksonville's offense to have success.
You're right, JT. And another part of the success, other than Trevor, is going to get Travis Etienne back playing just as well as he did against the Panthers. I think he needs to have close to another 100-yard game. And when he finds the end zone, we seem to win. So we absolutely need to get him in the end zone, whether it's in the pass game or run game. Somehow we got to unlock him to get him going against this Titans defense.
I love us getting him more involved in the passing game, because it seems like something we've moved a little bit away from. I don't have the exact metrics, but especially the first half of the season felt like every game was 4, 5, 6 catches, and now it's kind of 1, 2, or 3. And so I look for Etienne to get about 4 or 5 receptions in this game. And look, he's not had a ton of touches in the last 5 or 6 games, so he should be pretty fresh overall. And I look for him to run hard and have another couple big plays like he did last Sunday.
Getting him involved in the passing game, I think, will be an option. The Titans are one of the bottom 5 and giving up receptions to running backs. So I think that'll be there. We threw the ball to him 3 times. Ernest Johnson also had a huge catch for 34 yards against them. So if we can figure out ways to get him in space and potentially see a little bit more improvement from the offensive line, then that could go a long way.
100%. Well, let's flip fields now and let's talk about our defense going up against the Titans offense. And the big news around the Titans offense was that their rookie quarterback, Will Levis, left the game on Sunday versus the Texans on a cart with a foot injury. And we're recording this Wednesday night. There's still not a definite response. Will Levis says today that he really wants to play. He wants to play in the finale. But my guess is we would not see him because it would be in the best interest of the Titans long term to rest their rookie quarterback, their potential franchise quarterback in a game that doesn't necessarily matter. So there's a very real possibility that we'll see their backup quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, who has, of course, been in the league a long time. But as you look at this matchup for our defense, how do the Jaguars continue their success after shutting out the Panthers on Sunday?
It starts with Derrick Henry. Look, he's certainly a shadow of himself this season. At times he's looked good at time, but most of the time it's been very plodding. He's not had the breakaway speed. He's not had those 25 carry games where he's had 150 yards or 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. And so just continuing to maintain him and then slowing down Hopkins, who's also aging, and you pretty much are able to stifle the entire offense of Tennessee, because I would say about 70 to 80% of the plays run through those people as the first option. Yes, Spears, the rookie running back, has looked good at times. Yes, they also have their tight end in Conquo, who could beat the Jaguars, considering we typically struggle against that position. But if you're able to take away option A and B on this offense, there's not much that's going to beat you.
Well, this just in, Derrick Henry just made the Pro Bowl as a running back. So even as a middling running back who is about to hang it up, I believe, somehow he made the Pro Bowl. But good news for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh Allen has just been named as the outside linebacker for the Pro Bowl, and so did Ross Mastick. So absolutely congratulations to those two players. Well-deserved. Great job and well played. Can't wait to see you represent the Jaguars. But back to the game. Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker have to go off again, just like they did against the Panthers. This is another bad offensive line. And go get more sacks. Go get the sack crown, Josh Allen. Beat everyone in the regular season. You're only half a sack away from it, and you're going up against a really bad offensive line. And I believe if you play a great game and you can get to either Ryan Tannehill or whoever they decide to play at quarterback, then we win this game.
The pass rush will be huge. And in the Titans game, 26-3, they had both quarterbacks play and both got sacked a ton. Turns out they had 6 total sacks. So it should be a great opportunity for Josh Allen, for Trayvon Walker. And recently, Robertson Harris has had his fair share of sacks and QB pressures and QB hits as well. But one other thing I want our defense to be watching out for, and we saw this a lot in the Panthers game. Again, this is a Titans team that's got nothing to lose. They're going to come out aggressive. They're going to go for it a ton on 4th down. In fact, the Panthers went for it 6 times on 4th down against us, and we were able to stop them 3 times. And now that doesn't show up as a turnover in the stat sheet. It, in many ways, is a turnover. So I think our defense needs to be clutch, especially on 3rd and 4th down in this game.
You know, what's interesting is if you look at the pass offense, regardless of who quarterback was for the Titans, they're actually worse than the Panthers in almost every metric. They've had a worse yards per game, touchdowns, completion percentage. They've also given up 49 sacks, which is 5th most in the entire NFL this season. Again, regardless of who's playing quarterback, their rushing offense is, Joey, exactly right. It's middling. It's 13, 12, 15 in most of the categories from a rushing perspective. So it's there for us. If we can just, like I said, take away their option 1 and option 2, that's huge. Because even though Derrick Henry has been a shadow of himself, he still has 1,000 yards and 16 touchdowns on the ground. So he can still beat you.
And with that, then we'll go ahead and move on to the keys to the game. What do the Jags have to do to make sure that they put away the Titans and sweep them again for the 2nd year in a row?
We were 5 out of 6 in the Panthers game on our keys. So we give an offensive, defense, occasionally a special teams or a bonus key. So these are what we often call the keys to victory, that if the Jaguars can check this box, then they have a very, very good shot of winning this game. And this is a matchup, again, where the Jaguars should be able to win. They have better talent, I believe, on offense, better talent on defense. The motivation is through the roof because you have an opportunity to go and win back-to-back AFC South titles. Looking at the offense, I think this needs to be a game where we're scoring points when we have opportunities. We need to minimize mistakes. I don't think we need to get a touchdown every time we're in the red zone. I know we've had struggles, and as many bad metrics and stats as the Titans have, they are actually one of the best red zone defenses in the league. So I think if we are converting every time that we're in field goal range, I think we win pretty much every time. And then defensively, Joey, you called it out. I think Allen and Walker need to go off again. I think they need to have combined at least 2.5 or more sacks. And that is a game where Will Levis or Tannehill is feeling the pressure. They're watching out for these guys all the time, and they can't get the drives they need rolling. So I think if we hit both those, I feel great about a Jaguars victory on Sunday.
I like both of those. I'm going to different direction, still emphasizing the red zone. However, the Titans red zone is also a really good on the offensive side of the ball. So I mentioned that they're not great in a lot of things, but when it comes to the red zone, they are able to convert. They're actually the 5th highest conversion percentage, up there with the Eagles and Chiefs and Cowboys and Lions. And so being able to bend and not break, I think, will be important. And so for me, it's going to go back to the well again on third downs. And I'm going to say we can give up 6 third downs total for this team. If we're doing that, we're keeping them out of third and short, where Derrick Henry's able to convert oftentimes in 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s. We're doing that. We're potentially getting sacks. We're doing a lot of those things, and they're not having the red zone efficiency that they are typically having. So I'm going to go a third down key again. After giving up 10 the week before against the Buccaneers, we only gave up 1. The Panthers were 1 of 13 on third down. What I'm saying is, hey, just have an average performance and you're probably going to beat them defensively. Offensively, look, we just saw CJ Beathard play a clean game. I would like to see Trevor play a clean game. However, at this point, I'm not quite as optimistic that he will, especially if there is inclement weather. So I'm going to give the offense 1 turnover. You can only have 1 turnover, and I think you still win the game. If you give up 2 or more, you're most likely putting that game more in question.
My keys for the offense, I have 2. First one is not turning the ball over. We need another game just like we did against the Panthers. We don't need to press so much. Just take what's given and slowly, methodically move yourself down the field and take care of the ball. CJ Beathard did a very good job of that. He didn't do anything to win us the game, but he also didn't do anything for us to lose the game. Trevor needs to take a note in that and learn to protect the ball and not be so careless with it. If we don't turn the ball over, I think that we win. But I also want to see Travis Etienne get a lot of handoffs as well. I think if he gets over 13 touches for 70-plus yards, I think we win this game. No doubt. On defense, as I said earlier, it's going to be the defensive line again. We need to stop Derrick Henry. He's going to want to hit us in the mouth. This may be one of his last games. He's from the area. He would love to put it to us. So we need to make sure we keep him bottled up, and then also getting after the quarterback as well, getting sacks, getting in his face, making sure that he never gets comfortable and never finds a rhythm with him and Hopkins. So that is what the defense needs to do. And then on special teams, McManus, just make your field goals. I don't care if it's windy, rainy, or whatever. I want no excuses. Make your field goals. That's what we're paying you for. That's your only job. You don't have to do anything else. Make your field goals. You did a good job in the Panthers game. You're slowly working your way back to forgiveness, but I'm not forgiving you yet. You need to go out and make more field goals against the Titans, and then we'll see what happens.
Great keys. And hey, make sure that you share our keys with us as well. So we'll post these on Twitter or X, our offensive, defensive keys. And we want to hear from you. What do you think the Jaguars offense needs to do? Defense needs to do? And then we love to do predictions for the game. Hopefully we'll get some Titans fans to jump in and share their predictions as well, whether they want to win or get, potentially a top 5 draft pick. But all Jaguars fans, make sure you follow us on X at the Jag Bros, Facebook, all of the different social media platforms, and drop your predictions. But I'm turning over to you guys, JT and Joey. JT, kick us off. What is your prediction for this Sunday?
I got a lot of flack for picking against the Jags, but I also picked against the Jags against Atlanta earlier in the season when I was so frustrated with them, and it paid off. I'm not going to do that here. I'm definitely rolling with Jacksonville. I said my key is 20 points, and you know what? Man, it feels good to pick another victory over the Titans. Too many times in the late 90s with one of the best teams in the NFL were we coming up short against them. So it's great to flip the table and have a multiple game winning streak against the Titans. I'm going to say Jags on top 23-13. We come out with a 10-point victory and we host the Browns the following week in Jacksonville for the first round of the playoffs.
I'll go ahead with mine. I have us also beating the Titans. No surprise here. I have us winning 24-17. The Titans get a last-minute garbage touchdown after we sit everyone because the game's already in hand and we're getting ready for the playoffs. And that's how we take care of the Titans.
No 56-0 prediction, Joey?
No, not today. I'm going for real predictions.
No, none of that till the playoffs. We got to save all the blowouts for the playoffs. Hey, we did blow out the Titans a couple weeks ago. I think it was week 11 that we played them in Jacksonville. JT, I know you were there cheering them on, which was pretty incredible. Yeah, let's make this 3 for 3. I think our defense is going to build on the momentum. Hey, the Titans, their offense has not done well. They only scored 3 points against the Texans. And so I think we hold them to single digits. I wish, hey, you never know. Maybe we'll pitch another shutout. But I like the Jaguars to take home the victory. Jags 23, Titans 9 points in this one.
Hey, look, we don't talk about our scores beforehand, but we're all right there with us scoring in the mid-20s and them scoring somewhere around 9 to 17 points.
This is it. This is playoff football. This is January football. Come on, Jacksonville. Let's go get that win.
Let's do it for Duval, baby. Oh, man, it's time to start believing it was always the Jags. It's time for our boys to start getting healthy at just the right time. And Jack, you mentioned, hey, maybe we'll end up playing the Ravens if we can beat the Browns. I don't know. Some of those 6 and 7 seeds could be pretty feisty if it's the Texans, if it's the Colts, or certainly if it's the Bills or Dolphins. I don't know. Anything can happen in the playoffs. So you just want to have a chance to do it, and you certainly want to have a chance to be able to host that game. And so with that, we'll be here with you along the end of the journey. This is the time when playoffs football matters the most. Football matters the most for us. Let's continue to see some victories. And if you haven't done it in a while, please follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube and some of the other channels. Continue to like and share our content. If you have feedback for us, we're certainly open to it, whether it's changing formats or implementing some things that you guys would like to see moving forward. And please leave us some 5-star reviews. That helps our algorithms too, and it is able to get more folks listening to what we have to say about the Jaguars. We want to leave you with one final thought. Going into week 18 of the NFL season, Duval.